So what you want to do is just try to kind of like make middle of the road eye contact when you can.
Okay.
I always try to keep it more natural. So like when they count us in, I'll introduce you. Then when we say goodbye, I'll just start talking to you.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, it gets weird.
Okay. And 3, 1.
3, 2.
Hello out there in Maeya TV land. It's Nina Childs. I'm back again with a very esteemed guest, one of my really close friends, Councilman Andre Hub City Dre Spicer. Welcome.
Thank you. Did you have to read my name?
I did have to read your name, because you know what I was thinking? He's a councilman. He's also a community activist. He's an artist, a businessman, an entrepreneur. He's so many things. So I'm really happy that you're here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely.
Always enjoy being on another platform.
And we are so happy that you're here. Haven't had a councilman this season, so I always like to open up my interviews with, you know, whoever the guest is, kind of like telling our audience more about themselves, where they're from.
Okay. Well, my name is Councilman Andre Spicer, born and raised in the city of Compton, community activist, entrepreneur, and I've gotten into this political arena as of the last 2.5 years. As Nina would know, it's been a fight to get into this particular position. And I guess we'll talk about that, like the whole journey on even how I even become interested in wanting to become a council person or being in politics, because I definitely don't look like a politician, at least I hear that.
You do not look like a politician at all. But I like to think you look like a politician for this generation.
Okay. I mean, I like to think that I represent the people that I govern.
Right.
And so this is sometimes how we look.
Yeah, exactly. And you're very true to yourself, and I love your sense of style.
Well, thank you.
I think it's very dope. So let's talk about that. I mean, we could talk about your election because it was a historical one. But before we get into that, what made you want to segue into politics? Because when I met you, you know, you were a podcaster, you owned a radio station, you were kind of like in the community doing a lot of work. Doing a lot of activism, and then we kind of segued into you running for office. So how'd that come about?
Oh, I'm trying to give you the short version of that.
Oh, you got time.
Because I've always been just interested in just change and being creative. So a lot of people don't know that I originally started off, my first business was a clothing line. And so I was designing clothes. I was designing evening gowns, suits, tuxedos, wedding dresses, prom dresses, different things like that. And I enjoy being creative. And so then I transitioned from that into podcasting and radio. And I enjoyed that aspect because there was creativity in that. I had a chance to, you know, have a blank canvas and create something from scratch. And so I enjoyed that. That transitioned into realizing how much of an effect I have on my community. Yeah. And you know, I just want to represent Compton on a different level. Compton has been known around the world for various things, but it wasn't a reflection of the Compton that I knew and I was born and raised in. And so I used the Hub Radio, my podcast and radio station, as a platform to kind of tell our stories, to bring in our artists, our musicians, you know, sports figures to come in and kind of tell our own stories. And now I'm like, hey man, this actually has an effect on the community. People are watching, people are engaged, people want to know what's going on in Compton. And so I want to change that image of Compton. And so I started doing more community activism work. And the community recognized it. They saw that the work that I was doing, they saw the impact that we were having, the after school programs, the mentorship programs, the block parties, just all the different things that we were doing in the community. People recognized it, and then they want to see more of it. And so they encouraged me to run for office, which I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be in the forefront of everything. I like to do my thing behind the scenes. It wasn't until like 2 council people directly attacked me and tried to stop me from doing my community activism work. And so that's when I used the platform to target them in their work, in their field. And that's when we supported Michelle Chambers to run for District 1 against somebody that was targeting me. Right. And we got the youth to engage in the process civically, and we increased the voter turnout by 42%, Me,
That's big.
yourself, and several other people.
Yep.
We helped Michelle Chambers get into office. She hired me as her assistant. And in a couple years later, the other person that had targeted me, went after his seat.
Right.
And ran for his seat. And then that has a whole nother.
Oh, that's a movie.
That's a movie.
That is a Netflix miniseries, so we're gonna get into that. But I do want to say one of my favorite events that you sponsored in the community was when you had the sheriffs go to Centennial and teach the young men how to tie ties.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a great way to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the youth.
Right.
You know, because there are issues there sometimes.
There's been
in
issues.
Urban communities, and you've always been on the right side of that and been very instrumental in kind of like being that go-between with the community and law enforcement, which is such important work that I don't think you get enough credit for.
Yeah, thank you. Because as it relates to public safety, our community doesn't have the best relationship with law enforcement, and I think that both sides can do better. I think that we both can be held accountable for what we do and what we don't do. And if we can have an honest in-between, an honest bridge between the two, we can get more work done. The sheriffs know I hold them accountable every time.
Absolutely.
As often as I can. But at the same time, I hold residents accountable too. Like we all have a part to play. And since it's one community, we all have roles. And I just have been blessed enough to be in a position to communicate to both sides. And so I'm just thankful for that.
Right. I mean, you put yourself in position. I mean, speaking of that, your election made the news. During the election, it kept making the news. After the election, it made the news, and it made the news again once you actually took your rightful place. So, take us through that.
Well, I told you that we were encouraged by the residents to run for office. After we ran for office, I have a reputation in the community. People know me. They see the work. They know what we've done. And I know that I should have won.
Right.
Flat out. And when the numbers came back, I lost by one vote.
By one vote.
By one single vote.
An election with hundreds of thousands of people in the city, you lose by one vote.
One vote. And it was
kind of suspicious.
So nerve-wracking because during that time, they were doing a recount. Well, not a recount. They were doing updates on the counting like every day. So, we'll get like the vote by mail ballots in, then we'll get the actual ballots in. It just took days or weeks to count all the ballots up. So every time they did an update, it was like I was up by 5, I was down by 2, it was dead even, and it kept going back and forth like that. And the final count was him winning by 1, which blew my mind. And so we did a recount of the ballots. We found what we thought was voter fraud. We turned the voter fraud into the district attorney's office. 3 weeks later, the district attorney's office indicted the incumbent and 4 other voters. And then I found out, once they go to criminal trial, if they lose, it doesn't guarantee me my seat. And so that didn't sit well with me. So it's like, okay, we go through all this, we find out they had committed voter fraud, they lose the case, and then I still don't get the seat. So that didn't sit well with me. And so we had to file a civil case. So then we filed the civil case. It took us 8 months to see a judge. We saw the judge. It was 2 days of trial and 3 months of deliberation. And it wasn't until an unfortunate situation happened with the incumbent and his family where there was a murder involved. And then that's when the judge said, okay, we've had enough with this incumbent.
Right. Let's get him out of there.
Let's remove him, and and they appointed me into the position. And that was about 364 days to the date of the election.
One vote, 1 day.
One vote, 1 day, 1 year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And this guy got to sit in that seat that whole year and just...
And make some, he voted on his thing. He acted as a council person for a whole year after losing the election.
And being determined to have committed voter fraud.
Absolutely. Not just voter fraud. He had like 3 or 4 other cases, marijuana cases, bribery cases, just a lot of different things that was going on. And it was the murder thing that was like, all right.
That was it.
That was it.
It's like, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you did get in the seat. I mean, you've done a lot since you've been in the seat. Let's talk about some of the things that you've done since you were elected to office.
So, it was major for me to, you know, I mean, it was a beautiful thing that we were able to prove voter fraud.
Right.
And we fought so hard to get in the seat, and I thought that was a great victory for us. But I think the victory was more to the residents of the city, as, you know, my thing was we fought this hard to get in. We gotta hit the ground running. We have to do work. And so my platform was public safety, economic development, housing, and culture. Those are the 4 things that I ran on. And so for public safety, one of the first things that we did was try to be preventative. So I told you, like, public safety to me, it wasn't about locking people up. It wasn't about policing people, being harder on crime, sending people to jail. That wasn't my approach. My approach was to be preventative, proactive in committing crimes. So people aren't committing crimes because they're bored. People are committing crimes because it's a lack of something.
There's resources,
They're
jobs.
something, yes.
Right.
You know, the jobs, just different things. So what I wanted to do was give people a fresh slate. So we started doing expungement clinics. And in those expungement clinics, we'd have housing options, we'll have job opportunities, we'll have just various different resources. But the pool was the expungements. And so we've gotten over 400 residents expunged from their past.
Wow.
That helped them get housing, that helps them get jobs, that helps them get benefits. You know, once you go to the doctor and you pay a copay and you don't have to wait in the county line, and like that changes your whole perspective of earning.
Right.
You know, once you don't have to, you know, once your kid can go to the dentist and all you pay is the $15, $20 copay, that changes things.
Once you have a new clean record,
When you
don't want to dirty it up again.
No. And so we helped out with that as far as public safety, also with the illegal dispensaries. I think that was a huge thing. We were able to shut down all the illegal dispensaries in Compton. Compton had voted twice to not have dispensaries. And since they voted twice not to have dispensaries, we still were having illegal dispensaries that were popping up, and we couldn't do anything about it until I brought in the lawyer.
I'm okay.
I brought in the lawyer. We brought in the lawyer, and the lawyer was able to address the dispensaries from a legal standpoint, where we're actually start taking the property. So we were actually repossessing some of those property and putting them back on the market. So people weren't just losing their businesses; they were losing their buildings.
And not just popping back up again. Because that was a problem for a while.
That was a problem for about 4 or 5 years. And we've curved that. And it wasn't the best thing to my demographic. As you know, our demographic is, we engage. So it wasn't, so my demographic, the people that I represent,
they're like, why?
Why are you shutting down dispensaries? And so having those hard conversations, which I don't have a problem with, like I welcome it. You know,
Yeah.
You're not gonna like everything that I say or everything that I do, but if I can address it and we can have the dialogue and conversation about it, it helps to bring understanding.
Yeah, because I was one of those people. I'm like, why are we not doing that? But once you explained that we didn't really have, excuse me, the law enforcement in the backing to be safe about it, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And then, the dispensary, and I had to talk to people about it. The dispensaries wasn't paying taxes to the city. They're not paying taxes to the neighborhoods that they're in, for those people that look at it from that aspect. They weren't much hiring our residents. We didn't own them. So when I say we, it's like none of the residents own them. These are people that's coming from outside the city, sometimes outside the state, to
just
make
benefit
money
off the
and
city.
benefit off the city.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, we're not winning in that. And on top of that, the marijuana's not regulated. People were getting robbed. People were dying in these places. When they come out of dispensaries, they have these white paper bags and capsules, and they're just throwing it out on the streets and people's front lawn, in their front lawn. So residents had an issue with it, and they voted to not have it. So it was my job to enforce.
Yep. Absolutely. So that's just the tip of the iceberg, though, because you've done a lot in regards to also bringing things to the city as far as entertainment and things that add value.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Well, Compton is known for entertainment. We're known for entertainment, sports, acting.
Definitely pushing out entertainers.
Yeah. That's what
and athletes.
I mean. If we had a Compton Walk of Fame and we had a star for everybody that has contributed, not just to Compton, but just to the United States or the world in sports, in music, in entertainment or some sort, we would have a full city full of
That's
stars.
not a bad idea.
It's not. It's one of my ideas. It's one
Okay,
of my
there you go.
visions.
There you
That's why
go.
we bring it up. But I'm sorry, I probably got away from the question on that.
Oh no, just about some of the things that you're bringing to the city in regards to like arts, entertainment, things to do.
Yeah, and so one thing that we're known for pushing out these entertainers, but we're not known for hosting and honing the environment for them to flourish. So people make it in Compton, but they make it out.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily provide the opportunity for them to do it at home. And so we've been doing a lot more concerts in the city with locals. We're doing it at the parks, making the parks more safe. I've done 2 concerts at different parks, rival parks at that, and we got support from every part of the city. In Compton, in areas like Compton, most of the crime is done by gang members. Outside of the gang activity, the crime is actually pretty low. So engaging with gang members and talking to them and getting their insight and the things that they want to see and how do we make it safe for them? How do we, partner with them makes our city safer. People don't want to see it that way, but that's the absolute truth. And I've proved it because we've had huge concerts at a park that 4 or 5 years ago people wouldn't dare.
Yeah, not even during the day.
And we have rival neighborhoods coming to the park to enjoy and being welcomed by the locals. So we've done it twice at Wilson Park and at Luthers Park, and to add, no police presence. They
That's
actually
true.
refused to come out because we didn't hire them for security. Although we pay them $25 million a year to secure the city anyway, but.
That's another
conversation.
interesting. You're right. There was no police present.
Yeah, but it's because you have the partnership with the community that we're able to do that. So because of my background, because of where I've been, because I'm actually engaged in the community, I can walk the fine line of streets and politics and somehow bring everybody together.
You are an artist at that. I will tell you. I know a lot of people through you, a lot of people through the Hub Radio that have just come and got their start through you and gone on to do some things. Like, everybody's on their path. So I have to kind of shout you out for that. It's kind of like the Prince of Compton here that we're speaking with. So that's amazing. So what's next for you? I mean, you've already done so much in your short life. Like, what are you looking forward to doing next?
I like to believe I've been pretty effective since I've been in office for the last 2.5 years. I've only scratched the surface of the things that I want to do. And I have a huge vision for what I would like to see Compton look like. And going forward, I'd like to be in a position to bring those ideas forward. And if that means running for mayor in Compton, then that's what that looks like. And so wherever God deems for me to be, I mean, I'm just going to follow that. I had no intentions of being here to begin with. I never wanted to be in politics. I think that I was actually called to be in this space. And as long as he wants me here, I'm going to be here and I'm going to do the best that I can for my community.
You just wanted to serve the community, but you are.
That's it.
You're serving the community at higher and higher capacities. So
we have to change the image. We have to change the narrative of what it looks like to be from Compton. I travel the world. People know about Compton all over the world, and they know what the media has told them over the last 25, 35 years.
I think so. I think when people hear Compton, they immediately think Boys in the Hood, Minister Society, a lot of those type of films and that narrative. But I think that you've been a huge part of changing that narrative, partnering with some of our bigger celebrities like Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar, being that bridge, you know, between these people that have come from the city and gone out to do great things. And I think that you're on that path as well. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you came out. I hate that I almost choked to death in your interview.
Saw you over there going through it.
I was like, oh my God. But my throat is just taking me through so much. But please let the people know where they can find you. Because, you know, we broadcast to a bunch of different countries. So if anyone wants to find you, where can they find you?
I mean, I'm on social medias. I am Hub City Dre or Andre Spicer on any social media platforms. Also, we have a website that we'll be launching within the next 2 weeks.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Might be some surprise announcements coming on this website.
Could be some surprise announcements.
Yes, but definitely follow him if you're cool. It's I am Hub City Dre and also Andre Spicer, right?
Yeah.
All across social media. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys out there for bearing with me. We have more interviews coming, so sit tight, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Bye. Yeah, man, that's cool. So you are gonna make